Alright, so I'm just gonna go over on how to draw a graph. Now, out of all the methods that I've taught you so far, there are three. Okay. Just make sure you sort of have a guideline or understand how you are going to approach these kinds of things. There are some methods that are more preferred than the others, and I'll let you know throughout the video. Okay, so let's just get started. So the first one is a table of values. This comes from chapter 4a here. Okay. So just making a table of values is pretty simple in itself. Okay. You're given a question, which is your formula right here, y equals negative 2x plus 4. All you need to do is just select a couple of random x values um, that you have selected, and you just substitute it into your equation. Okay. So just to show you, if I substitute x equals negative 1 into y equals negative 2x plus 4 here, I'm left with negative 2. Substitute the negative 1 in. When you multiply negative 2 by negative 1, it becomes positive 2. I'll just make it really clear. Positive 1, positive 2, plus 4, and then you get 6, and then that's how I got my answer down here, okay? And you're going to do the same. Just remember, all you need two coordinate points. That's all you need. And if you want to write these as coordinate points, you just write negative 1, 6. Vice versa. Over here, I've already done it for you, 0, 4, and then 1, 2, just like that, okay? So I've already set it up. So here we go. Once you fit out your table values, convert it into coordinate points. I've just done it for you already, okay? Now, when it comes to actually drawing, you're going to obviously draw your x-axis and your y-axis, okay? You're just going to plot them. So once you plot them, you're going to put it in like the dotted form. As you can see, it's already dotted. So in this case, we have the red, the blue, and the green dots. Once you have dotted them, you can just grab a ruler and draw a straight line through it, okay? So you sort of get the gist. If I can line this up, then I'll be able to draw the line, but if I can't, you sort of get the idea. Um, we'll just use a blue line here. Now, to get perfect marks, okay, couple things that you need to do to your line to get perfect marks. You need to label. So what that entails is your x and y intercepts. You're also going to label your equation and then obviously scaling. So I'll just write it in for you all. So my equation is y equals negative 2x plus 4. Now I've already labeled my y-intercept, so all I need is the x-intercept. And just looking at the graph, I can see that it goes to 2 and 0. And that's about it, okay? You actually don't need to label the other coordinate points. That's just there for reference, okay? So this is how I expect you to get a perfect graph, okay? So just make sure your scaling's right, write down the equation, label your x and y intercepts, and also like label which one is the x and y axis, okay? So that's chapter 4a, table of values done. The second method is finding the intercepts. So you need to find the x and the y intercepts. I'm going to use the same equation, okay? So for my x-intercept, what you're going to do is let y equals 0, then solve for x. Okay. What you actually are doing is you are substituting y equals 0 into your equation, which is, you see here, I have just replaced the letter y with the number 0 instead, and then I solve for x. Now, to solve for x, you are going to apply inverse operation, and basically the word solve just means isolate, okay? Or like get the variable by itself, just like that. And we have just solved it, and we've solved for x is equals to 2. So the coordinate point is 2, 0. For the y-intercept, very similar. You are going to let y equals 0 instead and solve for y. So like I mentioned here, just substitute x equals 0 wherever you see x. What actually ends up happening is anything multiplied by 0 is just 0. And obviously you get 0 plus 4 equals to 4, okay? So that's your second coordinate point. This is your y-intercept. And this one here is your x-intercept. So like when you plot it on the line, this is what I expect from you. Or you would have circled the coordinate point 0, 4 and 2, 0. And then you just draw a line through them, okay? Just like that. And following the same rules from earlier, you're going to make sure that you label everything. So we've already labeled the x and y intercepts. That's great. I'm now going to write the equation of the line. And obviously I have my x and y axis labeled as well. Okay, just like that. And that is chapter 4b. I might as well just make a note. This is chapter 4b. So this is how you do it. Now, the final method is the gradient intercept method. This is from chapter 4f. Now, I've only taught you briefly a little bit of this so far. So hopefully when I teach you the rest of chapter 4f, this will make a whole lot of sense. Now, this relies on you finding what m equals to, okay? So just remember m is a number, and then you also need to find what the y-intercept is, which is just whatever the number c is. Let's just recap that the general equation of a straight line is y equals mx plus c. M is the gradient, c is the y-intercept, whatever those numbers there. Okay, so let's just go through our example. I have the equation y equals negative 2x plus 4. When I'm given this equation, I can just tell that m equals to 2, negative 2, and c equals to 4. And what these are is that these are the gradient and the y-intercept. Pretty easy. Now, you're going to start out by drawing your graph and then point out where the y-intercept is. Start out the graph where the y-intercept is, which is right here. Okay, as we can see, we've already circled it. It's right here at 0 and 4. Now we know that the gradient is a negative gradient. And then, so that means we are going to be going downwards, okay? That's what the arrow here means. It means downwards. So this just means downwards. Now let's just recap quickly on what the gradient is, okay? So when you typically find like what the gradient is, you use this formula here, m equals rise over run. And what rise and run are is that they are the vertical change and the horizontal change right there. Now, as you can see, I've already labeled some stuff here. In this right angle triangle, we can see the horizontal distance is just the run, which we know. The rise is the vertical change, is the vertical distance. That's pretty easy. The hypotenuse, in this case, is just your line that you typically draw. Okay. Now, when you think of like the gradient and graphing, you got to think of it like it's an infinite staircase. Okay. So the rise tells you how many steps you go up or down. Okay. Depending on the sign, you got to be careful depending on the sign here. So in our question, our gradient is a -1. So we can tell that it's actually going to be going downwards. Okay. Um, the run tells you how many steps you go across to the right. So let's go across to the right. Okay. So think about it like this. If I write m equals to -2, another way of writing -2 is actually -2 over 1. And as you can see, the negative meaning downwards doesn't matter, but I'm going down by 2. And then for my run, the denominator here, I'm going across by 1 step. Okay. So you got to think about it like that. Oh, yeah, here we go. So another way of phrasing it is every time I take 1 step forward, I go down by 2 steps. And that's just all it is. Now, once you start drawing your graph, this is actually what's going to happen. Okay. So what's actually going to happen is you start from the y-intercept and you follow this rule here. Every time I take 1 step forward, I go down by 2 steps. So as you can see, I take 1 step forward, I go down by 2. Take 1 step forward, I go down by 2. And the pattern keeps repeating itself until you reach the edge of your graph. So I'm just going to label this to make sure that we are consistent with everything so we can get full perfect marks, okay? So you got to think about it like that. Um, the okay, preferred method that you want to do is the intercept method, which is method 2. So method 2 is the preferred method, but if the question asks to use a specific method instead, use it. Okay? So that's all it is. Just take it really slow. I've tried breaking it down as much as I could. Hopefully, this will help a lot. I am going to be providing a worksheet based on this. So make sure we brush up and then we'll just see how we go. Okay? Take care.